Hello, caller. You're listening. Welcome to the Bad Rating Podcast. I am your host, Atlas Novak. And our guest today, she's the creator and host of the Think Tank comedy show. It's Sara Kay Godot.
Hey, Atlas. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. I was waiting for you.
I've never heard that joke before in my entire life.
Yeah, and I've never heard people asking me to shrug either. Nobody's a saint.
Nope. Although, in fairness, both of our names are kind of a literacy test, so...
Right, yeah. Except mine is a literacy test for shitty libertarians who...
That is true.
Think there should be no social safety net because bootstraps or whatever.
Right.
Fuck you, Ayn Rand.
But what an attractive woman.
Right, of course.
I'm kidding.
Yeah, no, she looked like Gollum's cousin or something.
Yep.
So how's the quarantine treating you?
I never thought I would do so many creative things from my office at home. It's been a really weird time. How about you?
I've been okay. I've managed to I've kept my job and I've managed to keep my two podcasts afloat, and I do the occasional Zoom show, and I count that as a success.
For sure.
Yeah.
With Think Tank, I actually was about to launch it at a bar in Long Beach, which sadly no longer exists.
Oh,
and
dude.
So quarantine hit, and I was there was the obvious wallowing in the reality of it for the first couple of months, and then I'm like, well, I could just do it online, and we'll see what happens. And it's actually been kind of great because people from all over the country can watch, and I have comics from New York and Dallas and LA all at the same time, and it's weird. It's a weird time, and I don't have to wear pants. So.
Dude, the not wearing pantsitude of this quarantine has been one of the best things about it.
Right?
For sure. It's one of the reasons I enjoy podcasting is that I can do it without pants. So.
Everybody likes to breathe,
Yeah. What gave you the idea for Think Tank?
I mean, most of my comedy is a little nerdy and a little philosophical, and I tend to kind of gravitate towards comics of that ilk, and so... Not that everybody's a genius on the show, but,
It happens. I make a lot of, history references in my stand-up.
You're a natural fit.
Yeah. I think it's neat, and I like to ask the guest of the week on Bad Reading, what are you into?
I am so deeply into FRASIER, it's not even funny.
Okay. I watched FRASIER all the way through about 5 years ago, and I haven't revisited since.
So I watched it in real time when it first aired.
Okay.
And then my day job, me and my husband actually own a psychology practice.
Oh.
So he's a psychologist, and I do all of the marketing and management side of things. But it took him 15 years to get through school, so I consider myself an armchair psychologist kind of. And so FRASIER is one of those stress relieving binge shows that we watch. So we've probably rewatched it about 10 times in the last 6 years, the entire thing.
And 6 of those were in the last 8 months.
It's true. It's true.
How accurate is the psychology on that show?
Oh, terrible. Terrible. I mean, something that I need to explain to people all the time. Most people don't understand the difference between a psychiatrist and a psychologist, where psychiatrists can do talk therapy, but they're mostly drugs. Mm-hmm. And psychologists are the ones that sit and do weekly sessions and talk to you and do all the process stuff. So the fact that both Niles and FRASIER are psychiatrists, but all they ever do is talk to people, and then FRASIER even more is doing really like bullshit armchair stuff that's all about him on the radio, it's just the worst.
Yeah, that makes sense. Toss salads and scrambled eggs and
Right.
all that
Right.
good stuff. Yeah, I never realized how many, like, you see a lot of people that, like, your favorites on other shows in the future, just
Yeah.
on Frasier, you're like, what the hell? That's Dr. Cox from Scrubs. He's the plumber.
Yep.
Or something. Like it just, I love watching shows like that from, like, the 80s and 90s where you get to see people before they really hit it big.
Yep. I feel like everybody dated either Frasier or one of the cast members of Friends. Like everybody that was like active actors in the 90s.
That might be a good litmus test. I think someone should, like, sit down and chart that out.
Right?
See where it goes. Were you a fan of Cheers too, or was it just Frasier?
Oh yeah, definitely a fan of Cheers. But like, Frasier hit when I was old enough to get the humor in real time, where Cheers was more of like a rewatching.
Oh, like as an adult.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've never really seen Cheers. What's Frasier like on there?
So he's basically a younger version of himself. So he's got less of a stick up his ass than in Frasier.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, he's how you would imagine Frasier if he had like just come out of grad school and wanted to be fancy, but like could only afford to hang out at a beer bar. So he's like trying to relate to the common man, but it never quite clicks.
Makes sense. And then Kelsey Grammer gets an actual stick up his ass in real life.
Yeah. I've been trying to separate the man from the character for the last 6 months.
Oh, I bet. Well, the good thing about fan fiction is somebody can take these characters and do whatever they want with them. Mm-hmm. And most of the time it's terrible, which is why this show exists.
I can't wait.
Yeah. So the story that I'm going to be reading to you and the listeners today is something called Count Your Blessings. It's by someone called I Love Romance, and it's on fanfiction.net. As always, I will have the link to this story in the show notes for you to go check out for yourself and to give the artist credit. I say that every week. All right, so the little blurb at the beginning is Niles has planned the perfect Thanksgiving for himself, Martin, Frasier, and Daphne, but unbeknownst to the Crane family, Daphne has made other plans. When she realizes what she's going to miss, she must decide if she wants to spend time with her family or follow her heart.
Okay. So we're already. I'm confused now if they're setting this up in the season before Daphne and Niles really get together, or is this them newly dating? I'm sure we'll get there.
We will. What season? It's like one of the later ones, right?
Yeah. So they're legit married for like the last 2 seasons, and then like the 2 seasons leading up to that are when they finally hook up, and then like the first whole chunk of the show is just him pining
for Daphne.
Yeah.
I apologize in advance for the voices I'm about to do. All right. So here we go. Niles was smiling as he closed his cell phone. The sight made Daphne feel warm inside. Lately, her friend hadn't had a lot to smile about, considering that his soon-to-be ex-wife was making his life more difficult than anyone could imagine. Daphne knew that the sooner Niles was free of Maris and her demands, the better. She wasn't sure if the smile he was wearing was real or made up, but either way, it was a nice change. "I've got good news, Dr. Crane," Daphne said. Okay, she's like British, right? Not Irish?
Yeah, she's not Irish, she's not Scottish, she's like Liverpool, like Cockney British.
Okay. So I'm probably gonna do something Beatles-ish then.
Perfect.
That's probably where we're gonna end up. Daphne said, making sure to keep the cheer in her voice, and her efforts seemed to pay off in a big way, for his smile was definitely genuine. "That's wonderful news, Daphne." "Well, thank God it's all over," Martin said. "That witch has made your life a living hell. You deserve to celebrate. We all do." Dad, in fact, I'm going to start celebrating right now. I'm going into the kitchen for a beer. Anyone else want one? Niles? Frasier? Daphne? Daphne shook her head politely and almost smiled. It was the first time that he'd ever asked her if she wanted a beer. She felt slightly guilty for turning him down, even though she hadn't had a beer in years. No thank you, Dr. Crane.
And I already know this person has never watched the show.
Why?
Because she drinks beer with him all the time.
Yeah.
They're like best buds, but whatever.
Happens. Either it's been a while or it's the kind of thing where they like make conflict that isn't there.
Right.
You know?
Right.
It's always fun when you like look up fanfic for something and it's a romance or like a fuck story between two people who have either met once or not at all. You're like,
right.
Okay, fine. I'm not really sure that would happen ever, but
It's probably just projection. Like both characters remind the writer of some person in their life, and they're just trying to like jam the fucking in wherever they can.
Right, of course. All right. Sure, Dad, I'll take a beer, Frasier said. You know, Ballantine isn't my beer of choice, but it's all we've gotten as long as we're celebrating. Why not? Niles, you told me that the divorce could take years, so this is great. I'd say that lawyer of yours deserves a raise. Well, I'm not ready to pay him in my life savings, but I'm afraid I'm not going to be celebrating the end of my marriage. Not yet, anyway. What are you talking about? It's not over yet, Frasier. Not by a long shot. And I'm sorry to burst your bubble, Dad, but I'm afraid that it will be well into the new year before I'm free. Daphne's heart sank, for she knew how much ending his shambled marriage meant to him. I'm sorry, Niles, Frasier said. I'm sorry too, son. I'm sorry as well, Dr. Crane. Niles smiled at her, warming her heart yet again. Thanks, Daphne. Well, if we're not celebrating the end of your marriage, then what are we celebrating? Frasier asked. Yeah, Niles, you said you had good news, Martin said. Actually, Dad, I said I have wonderful news. I feel like the only thing I'm nailing so far is David Hyde Pierce's voice.
You are. I like it. And I appreciate a gruff Martin. I don't know if John Mahoney was that like her, but for the distinction.
It's literally just so I like whoever's on the treadmill or taking a walk, they're like, okay, that's Martin, that's Niles, right. That's Frasier.
And that was definitely distinctive.
Yeah. Wait, who was that? Actually, Dennis. What could be more wonderful than having Maris out of your life forever? I mean, getting rid of her would be... Yes, I know what you mean, Dad, but this is even better. Well, almost. Daphne's heart was racing in excitement. Tell us, Dr. Crane. I'm dying to know... Fuck it, she's Irish now.
I like it. I'll take it.
Whatever he was holding inside brought him a lot of happiness, and no one deserved more happiness than Niles. He took a deep breath. All right, Dad, Daphne, Frasier. All three of them leaned in to listen intently. I have taken the liberty of setting everything up, so you won't have to do a thing. Setting what up? Niles, what are you talking about? Dad, Daphne, Frasier, this year, all four of us are going to have a rustic Thanksgiving at my cabin in the mountains.
Ah.
This comes out on Black Friday, so I hope everybody had a wonderful Thanksgiving.
Yes, for sure. And it's kind of perfect because literally every season of Frasier, there's a huge Thanksgiving debacle and a huge Christmas debacle. So
I think I remember those.
Those as like, I don't know if you know this, but Hulu's actually finally making channels that are just like all holiday specials.
Oh, really? That's dope.
It's awesome. I got sucked into like Seinfeld and the Golden Girls and like 3 Thanksgiving Bob's Burgers last Sunday. Ooh. And I was just like, this is fucking amazing. This is what I've been waiting for.
The Thanksgiving specials for Bob's Burgers are always like a classic.
They are.
Have you seen any of the Christmas specials for American Dad before?
No. I need to get back into that one. It was, of all of the like adult cartoons, that was the one that kind of like right around my my viewing schedule. I never latched into it.
Once they realized that they could use Roger for literally anything, that's when it really came into its own. But, like, American Dad has the best Christmas specials. Like, they have one where they're trying to do, like, a Christmas carol, and the ghost of Christmas Past takes him to the 70s, and then he just runs off. So she comes back to the present and gets his wife, and is like, all right, we gotta go find him. And, like, there's one where the rapture happens, and then it just turns into this post-apocalypse story. Or there's one where they accidentally kill Santa, and then he's trying to kill them the entirety of Christmas, so they have to fight off Santa and his forces. That's their Christmas special.
I like it. It's got a kind of like Terminator meets Die Hard feel.
Kind of, yeah. But like making Die Hard an actual Christmas movie, and not just because it's like
Hey, Die Hard is a Christmas movie.
I'm sick of fighting with people about this. Like, it's one of those things where it takes place like near Christmas, but I wouldn't call it a Christmas movie.
I don't know. It's a work Christmas party, and it's got a romance element. I love it. It's part of my.
Oh no! It's a great movie. I'm not ripping on Die Hard as a movie. I'm just saying oh yeah, it counts as a Christmas movie because there's a tree over there.
All right. Question: would you prefer to watch Die Hard or like a shitty Hallmark Christmas movie for Christmas movie time?
I will say Die Hard, but I do enjoy Hallmark Christmas movies, like ironically.
Sure.
Because like there's a movie coming out on Hulu called Happy Season or something like that, where it's Kristen Stewart, and she the whole story is like it's her and her girlfriend go back to meet her girlfriend's parents around Christmas, but her girlfriend hasn't told the family that she's gay, so like hijinks ensue. I'm really hoping that it's
Kristen Stewart actually smiles.
That too, but like I hope it's good. But even if it's not good, that means like maybe we can set the stage for more shitty Hallmark movies with like LGBT people.
Oh sure, yeah.
Because
I think Lifetime does that better than Hallmark, but yeah.
I've never really gotten into Lifetime.
Fair.
I missed the bus. Like my family wasn't really into Lifetime, so I didn't really even get it through osmosis. Like my sister and mom weren't.
Right. Ironically, my husband loves Lifetime shit, so.
Oh, there you go.
That's how I fell down that rabbit hole.
But like, I just love the whole. It's the same plot every time, where it's like I'm a woman from the big city who's coming back to their small town to be the executor of my dad's will or whatever, and it's like I'm the guy you went to high school with who works as a petting zoo, and
yep. He's always in marketing too.
Marketing or something, and then he has a magical healing penis, and then small town is better than big city, and that's the movie. That's it.
Mhm. I mean, yeah, I'd still take Die Hard.
Yeah, of course. Look, I'm not saying they're not good movies. It's just enjoyable in a stupid way, and that's okay.
Yes. I've never seen the one, I don't know if it was Hallmark, but it's Shannon Doherty, and she's like the bad aunt.
Uh-huh.
And she comes back. It's like a whole, like she's kind of like a jewel thief on the side, but then like her nieces and nephews win her over to be like a good person. It's so bad, and it looks like somebody like shot it with their own like home video camcorder from the 90s.
Oh my god. Wait, so how do you be a jewel thief on the side, and then, like, if you decide, I'm gonna give that life, and then the cops are like, oh, you gave it up. Oh, okay, that's good, that's fine. You know?
White privilege.
Sure. Definitely. Alright,
so they're back at the fuck cabin.
Or, like, they're gonna have Thanksgiving at the cabin.
Right.
After a collective gasp, everyone spoke at once. Hey, that's great now, what a surprise, that's wonderful. It doesn't say who's who, so that can be literally anybody. But Daphne could only sit there, watching the crane men hug. Her heart sank, and suddenly she wanted to cry. She had never felt more left out in her entire life. Isn't that wonderful, Daphne? It's catered and everything. You won't even have to cook, thank God. Daphne's eyes widened in disbelief. What? Oh no, I knew what you meant, Dr. Crane. I'm not stupid. I know you don't like my cooking. You could have just said something. Oh wait, you did. Daphne, blinking back tears, she turned and headed into the kitchen, hoping they hadn't noticed, but she could hear them talking as she stayed hidden from view. In the kitchen, she sat on the bar stool, blinking back tears. It was silly to cry, and it wasn't as though she was going to Manchester, but she realized she hadn't even talked to Frasier about it beforehand. It never occurred to her that they would have included her in their Thanksgiving plans. Sure, the four of them had spent many Thanksgivings together, but it was always at the condo, their home. Daphne had always cooked a big meal, complete with turkey and the trimmings. After dinner, Niles and Frasier sat on the sofa discussing wine or opera or work, or some such nonsense, while Martin sat in his favorite chair yelling at whatever football teams were playing on the television. This was a family trip, and she was happy that they were going. They'd have a wonderful time, and they'd spend some needed time together. But suddenly, she wished that she hadn't accepted Uncle Jackie's invitation to spend Thanksgiving at his beautiful home in San Francisco. It was such a spur-of-the-moment decision, and a surprising one at that. She and Uncle Jackie hadn't exactly been close, but she hoped that spending the holiday with him would change all of that. Daphne, is something wrong? The unexpected sound... Oh, that's Frasier. Daphne, is something wrong? The unexpected sound of Frasier's voice made her jump, and she turned around, brushing back tears that she hadn't realized were there. Dr. Crane, no, it's nothing wrong. I was just checking to see if we need anything from the store. Frasier frowned. Really? Yes, now that he was smiling at her, albeit sympathetically. That doesn't look like the face of someone who was making a shopping list. Well, now what's wrong? She smiled and took his hand. I'm sorry. Dad's the one who should be sorry. He was way out of line and he needs to apologize. Frasier stuck his head out of the kitchen door. Dad! Actually, that's not necessary. I know you don't care for me cooking. Daphne, but it's not that, well, Actually, there's something I need to tell you. What is it? I should probably tell all three of you in person. All right. She followed Frasier into the living room where Niles was talking to his father. Frasier held up his hand to get their attention. What's going on, Frasier? Daphne has something she needs to say. Dr. Crane, But he was already gesturing to her. Daphne? She felt as though she was about to give a speech, and rarely had she felt so self-conscious. What's going on, Daphne? I need to speak to you all for a moment. Dr. Crane, Mr. Crane, would you all mind sitting down? Martin gestured to his chair. I am sitting down. Can't you see that? Frasier shot his father an annoying look. Dad, Niles sat on the edge of the sofa, and Frasier sat down beside him. What's going on, Daphne? Well, I've been doing a lot of thinking about this. I've been here a long time, and... Oh, dear God. What is it? Frasier stood and rushed over to her, putting his hands on her shoulders. Daphne, you can't leave. Whatever I was paying you, I'll double it. I'll triple it even. Just don't leave, please. His words touched beyond measure. Dr. Crane, relax. I'm not going anywhere. Oh, thank God. Well, not until tomorrow, anyway. All three men rose to their feet. What? Daphne, what do you mean? No, you can't leave. I'm sorry, but I'm afraid I've already made the commitment. In fact, I bought the plane tickets and everything. Plane ticket? Frasier repeated. But what about my offer? Dr. Crane, that's not really necessary. It's just... But what about Thanksgiving? Daphne turned to Niles and smiled. That's exactly what I wanted to speak to you all about. Daphne, you can't leave. Not like this. Whatever it is. Whatever I've done. Again, her heart warmed and she... Oh, damn it, that was Martin.
You're fired. I'm kidding.
I know, just... Can I get, like, a said or a, like, do something before... or, like, script things or something.
I'm very curious if this is going to turn into a sexual fan fiction, which I'm sneaky hoping it will.
Mm-hmm.
But right now, this just seems like a very verbose spec script from somebody that maybe didn't watch the whole series.
Maybe. Have you ever written a spec script for anything?
I have.
How did it go for you?
Pretty recently.
What was the script?
I did a crossover episode of Brooklyn Nine-Nine and Law and Order SVU.
That's fucking awesome.
Thank you.
How do you square that circle? Those are two very differently toned shows.
Well, it's got a very meta component to it. So it takes place in the world of Brooklyn Nine-Nine, so that's like the anchor show.
Yeah.
And then the premise is that Mariska Hargitay and Ice-T are asked to ride along with the Nine-Nine squad to, like, brush up on their cop lingo.
Yeah.
So they're there as actors doing research for the show, but everybody on the Nine-Nine squad is obsessed with Law and Order SVU, so they can't separate the actor from the character.
Oh.
They're doing, like, Law and Order tropes the whole time, while the actors from Law and Order are trying to, like, take their actor job very seriously.
That's like almost a crossover, but not quite, because it's not involving the SVU universe.
Right. It's just like
that's really cool.
It makes like I am a gigantic fan of both vehicles, and so I feel like it would make the people that like both of them very happy.
Gotcha. I did a Seinfeld spec once, but it was about George not being able to do that like stadium whistle.
Oh yeah, I can't either.
Me neither. No, it took me forever to even just learn how to regular whistle.
Regular whistle I got down, but like it tortured me forever to be able to like I want to. Yeah, that.
So like do the two fingers. Actually, one of our episodes we read through the whole spec script. Our Terrible Writings Part 2, if anyone's interested. But
fun.
Yeah. So yeah. Again, her heart warmed and she hugged Martin. You haven't done anything. None of you have. You're all so wonderful. I'm sorry for my outburst earlier. Oh, this is so difficult. Once again, she blinked back tears. So why are you leaving? I don't understand. I'm touched beyond measure, but I'm not leaving forever. Well, I promised my Uncle Jackie I'd spend Thanksgiving with him in San Francisco. Frasier looked so relieved that she thought he might faint. This time, it was she who put her hands on his shoulders in an effort to steady him. Dr. Crane, are you all right? Oh, dear God, for a moment I thought. She hugged him tightly. I know what you thought. I couldn't leave you. Not permanently, anyway. I'm sorry if I made you think. You gave me quite a scare. Good physical therapists are hard to find, and good friends are even more difficult. Oh, fuck you. That's like...
She's fucking British. Why does she give a shit about doing Thanksgiving with her family?
Yeah. I'm confused about that, too.
Right.
I mean, like, maybe she's been in the U.S. long enough where it starts to feel like a...
Yes, I don't know. I have a lot of friends not from America, and they seem to always love to go out of their way to point out that it's an extremely American holiday that they don't give a shit about, except they're still happy for the time off of work and the free food.
Makes sense. I mean, why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
It would be like if we got Canadian Thanksgiving off, too. We're like, oh, yeah, thanks, buddy. I'm going to do nothing. All right. Daphne blinked back tears and kissed his cheek. Dr. Crane, that's so sweet. Well, we'll definitely miss you. You're going to miss one heck of a Thanksgiving, but I understand. Family comes first, right, Dad? Niles? Niles walked over to Daphne, and the look on his face nearly broke her heart. Dr. Crane, please say you'll come, Daphne. I never thought I'd be able to handle this Thanksgiving, and I wasn't expecting the worst ever. But now, I feel better that I'm going to be with Dad and Frasier. She shook Niles' hand, taking note of the way he shivered when she touched him. You ever been shaking someone's hand and they go, ugh? That's...
You know, it's what really gets me moving.
Yeah. Gets the blood pumping, a good handshake.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think handshakes are going to kind of, like, get phased out because of COVID?
I don't know how anybody's really going to react post-COVID. Like, I legit have been quarantined since March.
Mm-hmm.
I know I'm doing this whole thing really differently than a lot of other people. But, like, I expect everybody to just kind of, like, hiss at each other like possums once we're all back in the world.
Okay, see, that's better than, like, bowing or doing the elbow thing.
Yep.
Hissing like possums, I like that. Wait.
Well, from a power move, like, I don't know, I've been a hiring manager for, like, the bulk of my adult life, and I hard judge people on their handshakes. So, like, not being able to tell if somebody's giving you the weird limp fish.
Yeah.
Like,
even worse is, like, when you go in and someone, like, grabs early so they get your fingers, and you're like, damn it.
Yep, not great.
Wait, so when you say doing the quarantine different how?
Well, I mean, I feel like I legit only go to, like, the grocery store and Target, and then I'm at home. So, like, I know a lot of friends doing, like, you know, socially distanced comedy shows and hanging out with friends in small groups and, like, all of the things, and I haven't.
I'll see my family, but it's only 4 of us, and we do the, like, chairs in the backyard with the markers, and then aside from that, just work and the grocery store.
Yep. Yep. Although I do not, like, I used to hate going to Trader Joe's because of their chattiness, and now I wear, like, colorful things hoping that they'll talk to me because I am definitely, like, under-socialized.
Oh, you're getting a little stir crazy.
Yep.
I don't know. I definitely don't want to chat either when it comes to like the grocery store.
Yep.
I just get my stuff and get out. Also, there's like a thing where they, you know how they'll like want to bag your stuff. The Trader Joe's near my mom's house doesn't do that because they're like, we don't want to A, waste time, and B, like touch more than we have to. So they throw it back in the cart and they're like, do it outside. Go do it yourself.
Wow.
Yeah. And then the one near my apartment wants to bag your stuff, but it has longer lines than the other one. And I'm like, this is...
Throw your shit back in the cart.
Yeah, that would make more sense for them to do that. So, like, I tell them to do it, and they always give me this weird look like, okay, impatient man, go. Get out of here. They're like, there's like 80 people behind me. Just,
yep.
I'll keep it moving, you know?
Yep.
Alright. See, she took Niles' hand, taking note of the way he shivered when she touched him. I'm glad. But your family too, and it wouldn't be Thanksgiving without you. Niles, didn't you hear? Niles, didn't you hear her? She's already bought the plane ticket, and she deserves to spend time with. Who did you say you were going to see? My Uncle Jackie in San Francisco. Right, Uncle Jackie. Have I met him? Daphne laughed, thinking of her rather flamboyant uncle who likes to dress up in women's clothing, much to her mother's chagrin.
Ooh.
Yeah. Gertrude Moon never expected her brother Jackie to prefer dresses to suits, much less move to San Francisco right out of high school. No, he doesn't travel much, but when he told me out of the blue and asked me to come, well, I found it hard to say no, but that was before... Oh, we understand, Daph. We understand, Daph. Thank you, Mr. Crane. Well, I don't understand. Frasier shot Niles a look. Niles! I'm sorry, Frasier, but I really don't understand. We're her family, too. Don't we count? His words made Daphne's heart ache. Of course you do, Dr. Crane. I'd better be going. Niles, wait. But he ignored his father and brother and headed to the door. Have fun at your uncle's, Daphne. I hear San Francisco's lovely this time of year. His sarcastic tone cut through her like a knife, and she watched helplessly as he walked out of the condo and slammed the door behind him. The silence that followed was eerie. Her eyes moved to Frasier and Martin, and she was met with sympathetic looks. Suddenly she wished she had never answered her Uncle Jackie's phone call. And that is the end of Chapter 1.
Bum, bum, bum.
Bum, bum, bum. Yeah.
I'm really hoping that Uncle Jackie's like Mason Lane. That's my dream.
I'm hoping for like a Paul Lynde type.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. A little more flamboyant, which I guess Paul Lynde is just Roger from American Dad, so.
Right.
Who ate all the pecan sandies? Alright. So, start of Chapter 2, here we go. Daphne stared at the door, unable to move. Oh, damn. That scared me. It's okay. Unable to move. Daphne, she turned to Frasier. I'm sorry, Dr. Crane. I started all of this mess. It's my fault. Martin rose from his chair. Nah, don't blame yourself, Daph. Niles is... He's angry, she finished. And he has every right to be. He went to so much trouble. That's because it will be his first Thanksgiving without Maris, Frasier explained. Daphne's head rose. What? Yeah, they've spent every other miserable Thanksgiving together. Oh, wait,
that's not true, but whatever.
What do you mean?
I mean that Niles is in every single Thanksgiving episode. We never meet Maris in the entire series.
Yeah.
She always ditches him. Like, they've never fucking spent Thanksgiving together.
Yeah. So, oh, damn, that's like a giant plot hole.
Yeah, but again, maybe this person really loved the show. Who's to say? Everybody pays attention to different things.
I mean, you are welcome to rip on the author. We have yet to get... Like, I'm hoping for the day that somebody's like, hey, that's my story. What the hell? It hasn't happened yet.
I like sneaky want to write a bunch of fan fiction now just to...
Get it out there?
Yeah, chum the waters.
I mean, if you want to send it to us, go ahead. This might be shooting myself in the foot. badreadingpod@gmail.com. If you, no guarantee we'll use it, but if we do, we'll give you a shout out. That to you and every other listener out there. Let's see. So we never meet Maris over the course. They never even did it in like the series finale or anything.
No, she's a completely invisible character.
Do you think they did that just because in your head she's like crazier than like she ever could be portrayed?
I mean, yes and no. There's a few shows that have a completely invisible character. Like, if in fact, leaning back to Cheers, Norm's wife is the same. In fact, the only time that you even see her body is their Thanksgiving episode, but it ends in a food fight. So she like walks into the house and immediately gets a pie in her face. So you never actually see her face.
Oh, okay.
She like rips him out, but it was like another like phantom spouse, kind of like My Canadian Girlfriend type of thing.
Yeah, she totally loves me. I swear. You just haven't met her.
Uh-huh.
All right. Let's see. Every other miserable Thanksgiving. Daphne sighed. I had no idea they'd been separated for so long. Right, but for some reason they decided... Oh, right, but for some reason they decided to keep on celebrating together. Martin said. Why? I have no idea. She tried to smile, but couldn't do it. So he wanted to make this year special, and I've ruined it. It's not your fault, Daphne, Frasier said gently. You didn't have any idea, and I'm willing to bet that you made those plans some time ago. Well, actually, only about a month ago. You see, Uncle Jackie called out of the blue. I didn't even know he had my number. You and Dr. Crane were both gone, and I was here by myself. I hadn't talked to Uncle Jackie in years, and for him to call me after all this time was strange. But we talked for a long time, almost an hour, and the next thing I know, I'm accepting his invitation to spend Thanksgiving with him in San Francisco. Frasier smiled. It sounds like a wonderful way to spend the holiday. Well, I thought so too, but Daphne, don't worry about Niles. He's not mad at you. He has no reason to be angry. You've got every right to spend the holidays with anyone you want. And besides, this whole Thanksgiving in the mountain things is a surprise to me too. Daphne smiled. Thanks, Dr. Crane. I just hope they have TV up there. I just hope they have TV up there so I can watch the Seahawks game, Martin said. God damn, I keep thinking it's Frasier and it's Martin.
Fair.
Yeah.
Fair. Until you get to sports, and then you know it's not Frasier.
Yeah, like it starts Frasier and then like left turns into Martin. I wouldn't count on it, Dad. It's pretty rustic, and I'm sure that Niles doesn't have a satellite dish. Martin grumbled. You know, sometime maybe I could stay here. I can just... You'll do no such thing. Niles is already disappointed, and Frasier stopped short as a look of horror filled his face. Daphne, But Daphne turned away, fighting the tears that filled her eyes. Excuse me, there's something I need to do. Daphne. Way to go, Frasier. You made her feel worse than she already does. Dad, I didn't mean... Don't tell me. Tell Daphne. But Daphne was already in her room, crying into a pillow. It wasn't long before she heard a knock on the door, and she rose from her bed. Brushing away tears, she opened the door to find Frasier standing in the hallway, wearing a look of sympathy. Dr. Crane, you don't have to apologize. I know that your brother is disappointed. I can't very well blame him. Niles will be fine, all right? But, look, he understands. We all do. Even if you were going to England, we'd understand. Your uncle is your family, and family is important. Are you sure? Go to San Francisco. Thanksgiving is only once a year, and the fact that he called you means he really wants to spend the holiday with you. But, please, Daphne, for me... Daphne sighed. All right, but I'll miss you. I'll miss you, too. She threw her arms around him. Oh, I love you, Dr. Crane. He squeezed her a little tighter. I love you, too, Daphne. And their lips met.
No!
And that's the end of Chapter 2. And that's the end of the story so far, I think. You okay?
Yes! I mean, A, I don't think this person's ever watched the fucking show at this point. And B, that's the only hookup that's, like, never happened in this show.
Yeah. Well, wait, did Niles and her accidentally, like, hook up before they got together for real, or?
Oh, wait, was that Niles at the door?
That was Frasier.
Okay, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Frasier and Daphne never fucking hook up. Niles and Daphne, like, season 2, she goes as a friend to a gala with him since Maris is sick, and they do this like sexy tango. And so even though he's been obsessed with her forever, that's where she starts getting like a little bit of a tingle for him. And then it builds as like a 3-season will they won't they?
Yeah.
Whatever. But like Frasier and Daphne absolutely fucking not.
I know.
Frasier fucks everybody else in Seattle, but not Daphne.
I just don't understand why A, you have like the tension with Niles that never really gets resolved.
Right.
B, if you're gonna have them hook up, like, come on, go with it, you know?
Yeah.
Don't just be like, okay, I'm done. It's over. It's like fictional blue balls, almost.
If I had to guess, I would guess that the person that wrote this is between like 14 and 17. Because a lot of it really seemed to be more about Daphne, like, processing not disappointing her family.
Yeah.
Versus any type of sexual tension at all. And then, like, the big hookup is just, like, a teary makeout in the doorway.
Yeah. Wait, so it's the kind of thing where they're like, my parents don't understand me, and they're like, we do understand you, and that's it.
Yeah, pretty much.
Except without incest, I'm guessing.
Right.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Well, that's the end of the story, but, like, is there anything else about, like, the show you wanted to talk about while we still got time?
Ah, man. Well, literally everybody except for John Mahoney on that show has to be a giant person. Because I actually did run into Kelsey Grammer once in Chicago, and I came up to, like, his knees.
How tall are you?
5'4.5".
Okay, so he must be, what is he, like 6'4" or something?
He's taller. I think he's like 6'5", 6'8". He's like him and Jeff Goldblum are in that like giant stratosphere.
Oh, like could play center for the Detroit Pistons or something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But like Daphne's definitely the same height as him, and Roz is like the same height as them. So the whole cast must have been fucking giant.
That's so weird. I didn't even think they like. I don't really think about actors' height.
I've been like oddly obsessed with it my whole life, and like when I moved out to LA, it was like, for example, people that are the same height or shorter than me that I was shocked about. Michael Keaton, shorter than me.
Okay.
Spike Lee, shorter than me. Rami Malek, shorter than me.
Tom Cruise, shorter than everybody.
Everybody knows that one,
yeah.
though.
One of my favorite things about Family Guy is the little like fake TV shows that they'll have. And one of my favorite ones I've ever seen where it's like, we now return to Mission Impossible without the step stools edited out. It's just... And he's like, you're coming with me because I'm definitely 6'2", and he's like on a little step stool. It's like...
Oh, that's good.
Where are you from?
So I grew up in Florida.
Where?
And then, like, Clearwater, Tampa Bay area.
Okay.
And then I went to college in Miami, and then I ran to Chicago as fast as humanly possible. So I was in Chicago for 10 years before I moved to LA.
Wow.
Which now ages me as a million years in comic years.
I guess so. I mean, the good thing about comedy is you can be, like, 70-something and still, like, be relevant.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true. You're just not hitting mics, like, 20 times a night.
Yeah. Honestly, COVID has made me realize that I don't think you need to really do that.
You don't.
Anymore.
You don't. I mean, it depends. Everybody's got different processes.
Yeah.
Like, provided that you're actually getting stage time and utilizing it, and that's why you're there, it definitely helps. But most people use it for the social aspect, which definitely helps, but is absolutely not necessary to make you a good comic.
There are so many people I know, including some that have been on this show, that are like, I'm hitting like 5 mics a night, 5 nights a week. I'm doing it. I'm like, okay, but like, are you getting any better? Because it seems like you're really just going through the motions and like changing, like doing the same set every single time with like minute enough changes where it doesn't matter for the most part. And like the whole like pandemic has taught me to really slow down, even just with how Zoom shows work, where you gotta like wait for the DNS to resolve in both directions, with like the jokes getting there and the laughs getting back.
Yep.
And I think that's been good because there's less of a pressure to use fluff to fill time.
Yeah. And there's not like my giganticest pet peeve. I know that's not great grammar, but
Bad reading. It's fine. Go for it.
Shit.
Yeah.
But like my biggest pet peeve in comedy that definitely doesn't happen on Zoom shows is comics not getting a laugh and then fucking unloading on the audience like it's their fault.
What are you, deaf? Yeah.
Landing? That's on you, bro.
Yeah.
Like, and the worst is going up after a comic who's just eviscerated the fucking audience because they didn't have a good set, and you're like, all right, you've now gotten everybody to hate the night they're on, so now I gotta like win them back and get them to laugh. Go fuck yourself.
Yeah,
you know?
you have to like pick everything up and like off the floor. Which can be a Herculean effort depending on how the night's going.
I mean, when you nail it, it's great, but it's not nice to do to your fellow comics.
Yeah, definitely not. It's one of those things where, like, if you pull it off, though, you get like the satisfaction of like doing well, but also the satisfaction of fuck you, I can do this better than you.
Right. Yeah. Yes. That is true, and it does feel good. But
how has it been writing material while stuck in quarantine?
It's weird. So, like, most of my set definitely, like, the set that I was taking out, at least for the, like, 6 months leading up to COVID times, was not at all relevant once we got into quarantine. Mm-hmm. So I found myself doing almost entirely new, like, 10-minute chunks each show I did. Like, I did hop into a few... Like, a buddy of mine talked me into doing my first Zoom show in, like, April, and so I was like, all right, I'll sign up for a few of the open mics that are happening via Zoom just to, like, kick the tires and see how it feels. But especially now that I'm hosting a show, it's different than, like, working a room where you can really hone, like, the same 10 to 15 minutes in different orders or different whatever, depending on what room or what part of town you're in or whatever, because it's not the same people watching you every time. Like, I definitely have, like, an audience base that is now watching Think Tank. So I find it's, like, my responsibility as the host to, like, have a gigantically different, like, 8 to 10 minute opener every time, which is both exciting and terrifying.
See, the good thing about Zoom shows is, like, I can finally get my family to come watch me, and that's been my motivator to have different stuff every time.
Absolutely.
Because then, like, the next time you have dinner with them, they're like, "What the hell? You did the epilepsy bit last time. I've heard that. Get some new shit." You know.
Right.
It's definitely a nice kick in the pants. Like, I threw out 99% of my material when COVID started. All of the stuff I've been doing for the most part has been just wall stuck here.
Yeah. Yeah, I have, like, little Easter egg callbacks to some of my old stuff just for people that, like, know it or like it, just so that they're like, oh, I remember the Roofie Girl, or I remember, you know, whatever, some other taglines I had, but for the most part, it's all new stuff. It feels good. I mean, I originally have a theater background before I ever got into comedy, so rehearsing, like, whole monologues by myself in a room is not foreign. And just pretending that everybody's loving it, also not foreign.
What's your favorite role you've played?
Ooh. That's a toughie. Probably it's a very dark play. It's called Madame de Sade, but it's about all the women in Marquis de Sade's life.
Oh.
And I played Renee, who was his wife, so she's like the lead.
I've heard of that. There's like a Broadway musical where it's the 6 wives of King Henry VIII, and it's like they're all like fighting over like who had it roughest. But
yeah, that's pretty much like this situation too. There's like the people that he tortured, and it's all. But that was dark and good. I don't know. Like, after the college I went to was like very like meaty dark theater, and then I moved to Chicago, and the first play I auditioned for was The Bad Seed, the musical. So they took like the classic black and white movie The Bad Seed, and turned it into a campy cross-gendered musical comedy.
Okay, that's something.
I played the little boy that gets murdered with tap shoes, and then I came back as a dancing Hitler, and that show ran for 2 years. So, like, I'd love to say my favorite role has been a dancing Hitler, but it doesn't land with...
Was that like a crossover with the producers? What?
Kind of. It's like, I ended up becoming a company member at this theater for a long time, but it's a theater company called the Conservatory. So they do all original work all of the time. So we'd always do one musical, one sketch show, 2 straight plays, and 2 kids shows a year.
Mm-hmm.
But all just like the most absurd kind of campy type comedy possible. So there was a healthy element of producers in a lot of different things that we did.
I would love to see, like, if they turn Frasier into a musical. I feel like...
I would love to write that, actually.
That seems pretty fun.
Right? And, like, at least Kelsey Grammer and David Hyde Pierce both have, like, singing and theater background, so...
Yeah. And,
Unfortunately, Martin's dead.
Yeah. That's gonna be awkward. And there's kind of, like, he was so beloved, there's no way to really fill that without being seen with ire. It's the same thing if they did, like, a Seinfeld reboot that wasn't on Curb, and they got someone to do Jerry Stiller. Like, it's just not gonna happen.
No. Well, I mean, there's even, like, rumblings of there being a Frasier reboot, because, like, at the end of the show, he actually moves to Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
And starts to practice, and there's like a love interest at the end, which is like his most successful hookup out of the whole thing. So it's like a maybe Frasier actually finds love situation.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that Frasier works as a show without Martin, because he is the like everyman element that grounds it, so that anybody can watch Frasier and Niles talk about opera and Sherry and rare Porto vintages, and
he's the foil.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Him and the dog, Eddie. Eddie's still my favorite character.
Well, yeah, because he's Eddie.
Mm-hmm.
He's dogs.
His name is Moose.
Yeah. The dog's real name is Moose.
The dog's real name is Moose.
That is great. My mom has a Labrador named Thor, and he carries around a stuffed moose with him everywhere. Aww. So, yeah. Well, thanks for coming on Bad Reading.
Absolutely, thank you for having me.
Yeah, where can people find you and follow you out there?
So you can follow me on my Instagram, which is Sara Kay Loves LA. That's where you can see any comedy shows I'm doing. I also do lots of improv stuff, just random stuff all over the world of comedy and fun times. And then if you want to follow my show that I produce, that is Think Tank Comedy on Instagram, and it's the 3rd Thursday of every month, and I am excited to have you on in a couple of months.
Yes, I will be on it in February, and if you're listening to this in the far future and it's already happened, where were you?
Right?
Where were you?
That being said, it is Facebook live stream, so once it's posted, you can watch it on my Facebook anytime.
Oh, that's a good idea. All right, you can find me at Atlas Novak, Twitter or Instagram, or you can find this show at Bad Reading Pod in the same places. Thanks everybody for listening. Wash your goddamn hands, wear a mask, and have a good night.